Good evening. Let's call this meeting to order. It's the committee of the whole meeting for Champaign County Board for Finance, Policy, Personnel and Appointments, and Justice and Social Services. It's Tuesday, August 14, 2018. The time is 6:35. Roll call, please.
Rosales,
Here.
Storr, Summers, Tinsley, Anderson, Clemens, Clifford, Coert, Douglas,
Here.
Esri,
Here.
Portado,
Here.
Goss,
Present.
Harper,
Here.
McGuire, Mitchell, Patterson, Petrie,
Present.
Rector, Weibel.
Present. We have a quorum.
And Chris Storr's here now.
Yeah, Mr. Storr walked in. Could I seek approval of the agenda and any addenda? Moved by Mr. Esri, second by Mr. Goss. I would like to move the treasurer's part, which is would be 9B to the front after communications, because I believe Mr. Farney has an appointment he'd like to get to. Is there any objection to that? Mr.
Did he bring
McGuire.
any dessert?
I'm sorry?
Did he bring any dessert?
Uh,
Any cookies?
You have to talk to him about that. I take that as that there's no objection. Any other changes? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Public participation. I'm sorry, approval of minutes of June 12, 2018. Moved by Mr. Rosales, second by Mr. Mitchell. Discussion of the minutes. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now we have public participation. We have one person signed up so far, Dottie Vera Weiss. Please.
Good evening. It's a long time since I've been here, it seems. And I am again here to update you on the numbers of people that are in the county jail right now. When I moved here about 5 years ago, in 2013, the average number was 242, according to the reports that the Sheriff's Office makes to the Illinois Department of Corrections. By 2014, 2015, it was down to around 220. 2016, 2017, it was down below 200, averaging 193 one year and 199 the next year. This year, so far, for 6 months of this year, it's 158.4. So that's now more than a 30% decrease in the number of people that are in the county jail on a daily basis. When the report came in from ILPP on what ought to be done with the county criminal justice system for criminal justice improvement, they talked about the idea that the number of people in the county jail is not something that's totally beyond the control of the county. It's very much within the control of the county offices in a number of ways in terms of how people are triaged from one place to another. And I know there have been significant changes in how people with mental health, behavioral health issues are being treated in spite of the continuing lack of adequate services in the county. There have also been significant changes this year in what happens with people who are in jail and have a bail amount set. Depending on the offense, they are more likely to be able to get out of jail because of having a review of where the bail should really be set, and recognition and respect for the idea that people are considered innocent until proven guilty in our country. And there are more things that could be done for that. A number of the recommendations of the Community Justice Task Force that came in that same year included things like more community sanctions, more restorative justice kind of practices, and some movement in that direction is happening, but there's more that could be done. And there's some specific changes, like the people who have the Category B offenses, who get the bail review. Why should they spend 2 days or 5 days or 10 days in jail to pay down their bail by $30 a day? That still costs the county money. It still creates headaches for the jail system. If they are considered reasonable to be released into the community, why aren't they just released into the community? And that would save on staffing, that would save for those people's lives on being able to maintain connection with their family, maintain their jobs, maintain their educational activities. And so this is another way that we can be making changes as a county to help to control that. And I know that you're going to be working on the budget in these coming weeks, and I hope that that can be kept in mind, that those are things that can be changed so that less money needs to be spent on expenses of the jail. Thank you very much.
Is there any other public participation tonight? Seeing none, we'll close that. We'll go on then to finance. Oh, sorry, communications. Well, I'm in a hurry tonight, aren't I? Communications. Any communications from board members? All right, seeing none. All right, let's go on to then finance item B, the treasurer.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you allowing me to do this. My son is not anxious for school to start, but it's back to school night. The first is, as we always have, the monthly report. I would just ask that that be accepted and placed on file.
Moved by Petrie, second by Mr. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Mr. Goss, okay, sorry. All right, thank you, Mr. That's right, this is just, I'm going to shut up.
Well, come on. Well, I apologize, the mouse isn't working. But in the center of the screen here, we have our July cash flow. During the month of July, we paid back the public safety sales tax fund, the $1 million that was borrowed to help the general corporate fund. So during July, we went ahead and paid that back because the general corporate fund was in a position to do so. We've been receiving our monthly distributions in real estate tax dollars, and as you can see at the end of July, we showed a balance of $4,963,000, which is a healthy balance for this time of year. And it's good to have that public safety money paid back at this point, because now that we're in the budget process, it allows the folks that are doing the budget to really see true numbers of where we stand today. Payroll, AP, everything is, it averages throughout the year. As you show through the end of December, I'm projecting a cash balance of $5,245,000, which is about on track with where we want to be. Any questions on the cash flow report?
Ms. Petrie.
Thank you. Okay, folks. I'm interested in, you might be able to bring that to us, county board meeting or next month. There's a lot of expenditures that have come up in relationship to facilities that I heard about Tuesday night, and expenditures in conjunction with the nursing home, and how is all that going to play out in the present budget as we move forward to be thinking about 2019?
Great question. It's really more appropriate for the auditor and the administrator to work on that. So, yeah, not something I have the details on.
Any other questions?
All right. That's all I had on the cash flow report. The next item I have for you is a memorandum concerning the Illinois Trust. And do you need to make a motion on that before I can talk about it? Go ahead.
Resolution approving the declaration of trust of the Illinois Trust, formerly known as the Illinois Institutional Investors Trust, and authorizing the execution thereof, and authorizing certain officials to act on behalf of the County of Champaign. Do I have a motion? Mr. Anderson. Second, Ms. Petrie.
So the county currently has a vast majority of our funds in a fund called the Illinois Funds. It's operated by the Illinois State Treasurer's Office. It's a money market account. It's liquid, it's safe, it pays us a decent interest rate. Today that interest rate is 1.95%. Most banks are a little bit under that actually, especially on money market accounts. You got to remember with government funds, we have three goals. Number one is safety. We want to make sure that money's not going to get lost because a bank goes belly up or something like that. So number one is safety. Number two is liquidity. And as we all know, over the past several years with our nursing home situation, we need to have cash available for when something happens and we need to be able to cover funds. And then number three is yield. So while 1.95 may not sound that great, in our world, it's actually pretty good because we have so many different requirements to keep those funds safe. The Illinois Funds does a good job with that. The Illinois Trust, which I'm asking you to allow us to participate in, is very similar to the Illinois Funds. It's also a money market account. It's operated through governmental agreement, intergovernmental agreement, which is why I'm asking the board to pass this. It is managed by a company called PFM, and PFM has a long track record of managing governmental funds. This particular fund is very popular in the suburbs of Chicago, but it's also been used here locally. The city of Champaign has participated in the past. The Champaign Park District, and I believe also Urbana School District may have also participated at one time. Today, actually, the rate on the fund that I'd like us, the Illinois Trust, which is their money market account, is actually about 1/10 of a point higher than the Illinois funds. So what I'm asking is for us to pass this resolution, which allows this to be a deposit, an account that we can open. And that just gives us the option that if we want to move funds over to it, when it shows to be a prudent move, we can do that. And we can very easily move those funds back to Illinois funds, or even any one of the various banks here in our community. When the time comes when interest rates are higher and it makes more sense to be in a local bank, we can do that as well. So this is just another tool to have in our toolbox to make sure that we're getting the best return on county funds while they're in our possession.
Any questions? Mr. Goss?
Yeah, what's the security backing on these, do we know?
They are backed through collateral agreements. U.S. Bank actually manages, it's the same, U.S. Bank manages both Illinois funds and the Illinois Trust. And so it's done through a letter of credit with the Federal Home Loan Bank out of Chicago.
I saw Mr. McGuire next.
Thank you. So what percentage of the funds would you be moving, or is there going to be any limit to the?
That would just depend on, like right now, today we have minimum balances that we like to keep in cash in our checking accounts. We have checking accounts with, there's 6 different checking accounts here, general corporate fund, RPC, and so on. Anything above that, we keep in the Illinois funds because that's what's paying us interest right now. So we could move all of it, we could move some of it. It would depend on the rate, and it would really just truly depend on each day what situation it brings us, because these are the funds that are not needed for daily operations. Our daily operating funds are in a checking account at Busey Bank, at First Financial Bank, at Prospect Bank.
When you're talking about the other local entities that have had funds in the trust, has it been the amounts that you may be talking about moving?
Oh, we'd be smaller than most other places. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Petrie?
On average, how much money do you usually have in the mutual funds?
In the Illinois funds
Yeah,
right now, We have $34 million over the various accounts that we have.
I have a quick question. Is there a minimum?
There is not.
Wait.
There's no minimums, and there is no cost to the county to participate.
Mr. Goss, did you have a question?
And we can have multiple accounts. So we would do like we do now with the Illinois funds. We have an account for the Regional Planning Commission, one for our trust and agency accounts, one for the nursing home, one for the general corporate fund, or one for the highway.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next up, resolution designating depositories for funds. Do I have them? Mr. Goss? Sorry, Mr. Harper. Questions? Or do you want to maybe kick us off with a brief explanation?
Sure, I can just, this is the same resolution that you've passed in the past every time we add a depositing institution, so this is just to add the Illinois Trust.
So this is just a follow-up?
It's a
to
follow-up, yep.
previous, that's what I thought.
That's right.
Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next up, unless anybody has an objection, I'm going to take these in batches. So there's 3 similar types of things, so I'm going to take those in batches. Is that okay? Well, it's under the treasurer's, I guess. Right. Just to complete the treasurer's thing, and you know, maybe one of you will have a question on something. Who knows? All right, so I'm going to do 4 through 7 first. Resolution authorizing the county board chair to assign mobile home tax sale certificate of purchase for the following: permanent parcel 30-059-04042, permanent parcel 29-050-0019, permanent parcel 15-025-00119, permanent parcel 02-001-0006. Do I have a motion? Mr. Mitchell, do I have a second?
Point of order. You said for the third one, you said 00119, it's 0119.
Oh, I'm so sorry. 0119. Sorry, thank you. Thank you for the correction. Okay, I'm so sorry. No, I had Mr. Mitchell as a first and Mr. Clifford as a second. Any questions or thoughts? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next, I'm going to do 8 through 23, so I'll be reading for a while. Resolution authorizing the execution of a deed of conveyance of the county's interest or cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on real estate, permanent parcel 20-09-01-180-003, permanent parcel 92-21-16-156-004, permanent parcel -01-35-30-231-006, permanent parcel 14-03-32-400-019, permanent parcel 20-03-35-352-006, permanent parcel 20-09-01-176-040, permanent parcel 20-09-01-179-020, permanent parcel 20-09-01-402-022, permanent parcel -21-34-33-430-013, permanent parcel -22-32-06-110-002, permanent parcel 20-09-02-176-011, permanent parcel -26-30-09-303-003, permanent parcel 91-21-07-251-009, permanent parcel 26-30-08-430-022, permanent parcel 20-09-02-207-001, permanent parcel -46-21-07-181-010. Do I have a motion? I saw Mr. Summers and seconded by Mr. Esri. Just for anybody watching in the public, I was using O and 0 interchangeably, just based on how my brain worked at that moment. Does anybody have any questions? That was my question. Oh, why? Oh, yeah, sorry. Just some of them times it just seemed one way or the other. Ms. Petrie.
Just a curiosity question. I don't remember we having such a nice long list anytime in the recent past. Is there something procedural that did this?
Yeah, these are the results of the surplus sale that the sealed bids were due on July the 26th. These are on July the 6th. And so it just happened to be that this year we had more bidders.
Okay.
Several of these properties had previously been on the auction and had not received bids. So this is a good thing for the taxing districts within Champaign County to see these being sold to private individuals.
Do you have a total of the resulting?
I do.
Oh, that's
The,
good.
The total bid on all of the parcels within
Yeah.
the county were $85,834.46.
And does that all go to the county, or is that divvied up?
Some goes to the trustee agent for their work, and then it's divided up, the rest of the proceeds are divided up by the taxing districts where the property
Okay.
lies. So for the most part, the school district gets about half, and then everybody else gets their
Everybody,
part.
so about 10 cents, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution authorizing the cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on a mobile home permanent parcel 14-018-0009 and permanent parcel 14-018-0006. Do I have a motion? Mr. Anderson, Mr. Rector, second. Any questions on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
All right, thank you, Mr. Petrano. We'll come back to you. Let's go on to Justice and Social Services, Mr. McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, we have monthly reports. All reports are available on each department's webpage through the department's reports page at www.Champaign, Illinois County Board Reports. And then those reports, without exception, will be placed on file. And then further, we go to other business, in which we have a visitor and a presentation. David Northern, Chief Executive Officer of HUD, or Housing Authority of Champaign County. Someone new to us. I'm excited to have him here with us. And he's going to talk about the overview of Champaign County's move to work agency, and he has some assistants with him. Perhaps he'll introduce them, but if not, that's up there.
Well, first, I want to say thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to present in front of you guys today. Also, I'm so excited to be here in Champaign County. Been here since April, and I'm excited to have this opportunity to present to you guys. Today, I do have a couple staff members here with me. My executive assistants, Lily Walton and Ashley Short, is the executive secretary for the Housing Authority. So they're the ones that really prepared this presentation. Okay, all right, there we go. Now I'm set. So again, thank you for allowing me to come here. I come with 24 years of experience working in housing, community, and economic development. Most recently came out of a position, the same position in Lake County, Illinois, where I was the deputy director there for 6 years, and most recently the CEO there for 10 years. So I want to provide a little overview of the Move to Work program. It's a lot of information, so I had handouts so you guys can have that also. And if you have any questions, just feel free to stop me in any time. So the Housing Authority of Champaign County is a Move to Work agency. Move to Work is something that's so important because it's a unique program that only 39 out of the 4,000 plus housing authorities have throughout the nation. Congress and HUD got together a number of years ago and decided, let's see how we can do business differently. We've done it one way for a number of years, and it hadn't been successful. So thankfully, Champaign County was one of those housing authorities that was able to utilize that special program to benefit its community and its clients. In the state of Illinois, there's only one other housing authority that has that designation, and that's the Chicago Housing Authority. And just in comparison, the state of Indiana and Wisconsin has no move-to-work agencies. Yes.
Just want to point out, if you put the microphone at your chin, it'll be a little less feedback.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so again, having a move-to-work housing authority, it expands housing options, move families towards self-sufficiency, and develop administrative cost savings, along with providing services at a more cost-efficient way. Part of that program, we have what we call a local self-sufficiency program. It ensures compliance. We have a self-sufficiency component, which defines as self-sufficiency as a behavior that exhibits personal accountability and financial responsibility. So we work toward making sure our clients are focused on moving toward work and education to allow them to move toward work. Now, this program is only eligible for individuals that's non-disabled and non-elderly, and elderly in our program is 54 and up. A mandatory participation. All our voucher holders in our program have to participate in the Move to Work program unless it's an individual that's elderly or disabled. Also, heads of household along with adult family members has to participate. The adult requirement, individuals 18 through 54 are required to actively pursue activities to achieve economic self-sufficiency. And it's a minimum of 25 hours of work a week. And also in, excuse me, in 2016, we added term limits to the program where an individual had up to 8 years in order to be on a program that's non-disabled and non-elderly. And we added that because we know that for a number of years, public housing has become long-term housing, permanent housing, and we want to encourage individuals to work hard to overcome those obstacles. That's one of the reasons we created this program, in order to give a person a hand up versus a handout and focus on education, the whole person, not just the bricks and mortar of putting people in housing. Okay. So the local self-sufficiency program and the compliance, we provide social service referrals, non-employment compliance waivers. So if individual is sick or in a hospital, or their child or family member is ill that they have to take care of, they can have a temporary waiver where they may not have to work or be in school. We provide scholarships, college applications, resume writing services, and community resources. One of our goals is to build an alliance of community partners so that we can help serve our clients' needs overall. The national average of individuals on public housing or in HUD's program, as far as income, is $12,000 a year, and our clients are above that average. Some of the communities that we have created. I mentioned the word public housing quite a bit, but one thing that also the Champaign County Housing Authority did was convert all its traditional public housing units to RAD, which is rental assistance demonstration, which allows the Housing Authority to leverage those properties. Under the old HUD system, we only was able to receive mainly 76 cents on the dollar in order to maintain our properties, and that's why most of those properties was in disarray. Through the new program, we're able to leverage it, take loans out, and manage it as effectively as possible using different financial methods and working with the private sector for financing, eliminating the use of and dependency of the amount of tax dollars that we have used in the past. So our programs, we have properties, 42 properties that we created that's mixed finance with no low-income tax credits. We have 617 units that has low-income tax credits. And as far as the rental assistance demonstration program, we have 254 units in our portfolio. Move to work vouchers. So we have tenant-based vouchers, meaning that the tenant has the ability to move the voucher from place to place over the years. In terms of that Again, that's where the requirement comes for 25 hours a week to work and a time limit of 8 years on our program unless they're elderly or disabled. They have exemptions. Non-move-to-work vouchers, tenant protection vouchers. Most cases, we receive these vouchers for situations where we're relocating tenants for purposes of rehabbing, demolishing property, or rebuilding property. So they receive tenant protection vouchers. We have 141 households receiving tenant protection vouchers. Mod rehab. That program is where we went out and rehabbed units and selected families for occupancy under particular screening for those families. And we have 25 households in the mod rehab program. MTWs, veterans, the VASH program, Veterans Project-Based Voucher Program. Currently, we have 22 households in that program also. So as you can see, we have a diverse amount of vouchers for different type of individuals throughout our community. Project-based vouchers. Now, earlier I talked about tenant-based vouchers. Those are the vouchers that an individual have, and they can move anywhere they would like to move to. It's portable. For example, if they wanted to move to Hawaii, Florida, Guam, any place where a housing authority is present in that jurisdiction, a tenant-based voucher, individual have an opportunity to move there. Now, what I'm discussing now are called project-based vouchers, and those vouchers are vouchers that sticks with the unit. So we may develop a property and add, say, 10 project-based vouchers. In that unit, number one is always subsidized. Whoever lives in there is subsidized. The person can't take that voucher with them, so that keeps the building financially stable and ensure that we have the opportunity to provide low-income housing. So under that program, we have approximately 376 households in that program. The RAD project-based vouchers, as I mentioned earlier, we decided to project-base some of our RAD properties. So some of the traditional public housing properties, we took them off the traditional roll, put them in RAD, we project-based those units, and we received financing in order to maintain and upgrade those units for our families. And that program has 254 households within it. And together we serve 2,173 households on our programs. Now, some recent developments that we've had success with. In Muhammad Manor at Prairie Crossing, it's 18 age-restricted units, 55 and up. It opened November 17th. It's an amazing property, and it even has garages for the tenants. And some people looked at the plans and said, why would you have garages in affordable housing? Well, one of the goals is to allow affordable housing to look different than other houses within the community. We don't want people riding down the street saying this house is affordable, that house is not affordable. So if you look at the community in Muhammad where this property is, you will see it looks similar to the houses adjacent to it. Bristol Place is a property coming to the Champiagn area, and it was looked to open in 2019. This is a project that was developed in a partnership between the City of Champiagn, the Housing Authority, the Park District, and a private developer. This property will be located around Market Street. I don't know the cross-section, but on Market Street over where some of the mobile homes were at, we demolished them, and we demolished some of the public housing properties. This new development, phase one, have a total of 90 units, single family 64, and townhomes 26. Phase two will have 90 senior units. So we're doing a great job in terms of bringing back that community. The Park District is working hard on the park to be more active, along with having the Waterway District, similar to the creek. I'm still fairly new here, so I'm still trying to get all the names. Barnyard, yes. Similar to the Barnyard, so it'll be very attractive for that community. Other future developments. We have a development we're working on currently that receive tax credits, and we have 98 age-restricted units, 3-story building for individuals 55 and up, 24 one-story apartments for individuals with special needs, and that's a RAD transfer. You probably heard in the paper we sold our property, Skelton, and the proceeds from Skelton allowed us to purchase some additional land. And what's unique about this is that this property will be located right next to the mall, and it'll be built on a number of acres. We had a deal with the Atkinson Group where we was able to increase the amount of acreage we had. And so once this development is developed, we have the opportunity to develop another affordable development or sell that land to a private developer for developing property. But this is a great location for those individuals to be adjacent to the mall, so it's shopping and stores right there for them to access for their needs. This is a basic overview of that property. We have not developed any renderings as of yet, so this is how the property outline looks. And once we develop those renderings, we'll have them up on our social media accounts and our website for individuals to view and make comments on. This property here is Oakfield Place, and it's in the city of Henry, Illinois, and it's in Marshall County. Now, we sitting here in Champaign County, so most of you guys are like, what, Marshall County? What's going on? Well, the Housing Authority of Champaign County is a move-to-work organization. In terms of HUD's requirements, if a housing authority is not covering that jurisdiction, the housing authority, any housing authority that has the ability to develop can develop there. We also have 3 not-for-profits that we utilize to help develop and further our development efforts. And you'll say, hey, why develop still there, right? So when we develop, as the developer, we receive a development fee. So that means that we're making income and lessen the need and the dependency on tax dollars. And so this county reached out to us and needed affordable housing in that area, so we decided to work with one of the local developers to provide that. And we'll be the general partner, and the property will be the one under the portfolio of one of our not-for-profits. The Housing Authority received the development fee on that property, and we will have the management income coming in from that property also. And that property will consist of 10 project-based vouchers with low-income tax credits, 20 only low-income tax credits for a total of 30 units. Again, that's an age-restricted property also. This kind of is the outlook of the property. You can see we have no renderings as of yet to really show the internal issues of the property, but we did receive tax credits in about 2 months ago from the Illinois Housing Development Authority to move forward with developing this property. Colorado Street project is Pinewood Place. This is a property that will be located in Urbana. It's 24 units of housing that will be set aside for individuals with special needs. Again, this is a new property that we have on our horizon that we're working through. It's moving pretty fast along the lines. The city of Urbana had already changed the zoning requirements needed to move forward with this property, and we're currently applying for the tax credits so we can start construction of this property also. Here I provided, it's hard to see, but if you would like, I can follow up with an email. This is our portfolio. So we want to make sure our real estate portfolio is continually updated, and we provide the information of what types of units we have, where the addresses are, the property names, the number of units that we operate, who's owned and who's managing it, who own it and who's managing it. On this portfolio sheet, you will see some properties owned or managed by the Housing Authority, and some may be managed by private management companies, and some it may be a partnership, affiliate organization, so 2 or 3 owners in a partnership. When we trying to use public-private partnerships and not utilize as much tax dollars, we partner and work with the private sector in order to make it possible to have affordable housing throughout the county. And this is a procedure that housing authorities throughout the nation are using in order to create new affordable housing. HUD is no longer funding public housing in terms of developing new housing, and so we have to find more creative ways in order to make that possible for our communities that we serve. Excuse me. One of the things that's pretty exciting is that we purchased a building on Market Street right down from Bristol, which we will have our new administrative office in. As you can see, the building was a old doctor's office, and we're adding about 400 square feet, new construction, parking spaces, and the completion is right now at 15%. Some of the unique opportunities that we have, currently the building that we're in was an old bank, is not really accessible for our tenants or our staff. The new building will have computer labs and resource center for our tenants. They help look toward work opportunities. It's only 1.5 miles or 0.05 miles from the bus stop, so it's not a added burden to our clients in order to get there. We have the mall right there with a plethora of jobs and FedEx distribution center right down the street. And again, as I mentioned, it's right down from the Bristol Place, which as you can see, we have a number of clients right there on our program that we can serve with that property being so close to our new office. One of the things that coming in as the new director back in April, we've done a lot of listening. I've been out meeting with a lot of individuals, a lot of organizations, a lot of not-for-profits within the community. We held a listening tour, what we call the Voice of the Constituent, where we talked with staff, residents, and community partners about what they want to see out of the Housing Authority, what we can do, what issues we may have, what are we doing great, what can we improve on. Early on, one of the things that we knew it was communication to the public, making sure that what we're doing is getting out to the public in the correct way, and the answers that the citizens have are answered in a correct manner. So one of my first initiatives I brought to the Housing Authority was the Office of Constituent Services, where we have an email, a telephone number, where anybody that have a question or concern other than a FOIA process is going through. As you can see, it's a basic outline of it. I also provided cards at your table with the information on it that you guys have, and we've been passing that out throughout the community, ensuring that if individuals have any problems or concerns, we're able to answer them and evaluate them and make sure that it's a resolution to that problem or concern. And lastly, with this program, we're able to track it and see what the problem is. Is it more training that our staff need? Are we not communicating correctly? Is it properties that we need to work and focus on? What is the issue that we are having where we have a lot of concerns? So this is a project that we went forward with that's been very successful so far. Individuals have been pretty happy in getting the answers to their questions pretty quickly. And to go along with that, we want to ensure that we update ourselves along with the community as it's being updated. So we're on Facebook, we have a YouTube channel, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, and we have an updated website to ensure that our information is out, that individuals that have questions and concerns can reach out to us. On that website, we have a resource page so our clients or the regular citizens can reach out and figure out where some of the needs they may have can be met. So just to end, again, I'm so excited to be here at the Housing Authority of Champaign County. My wife is actually from Champaign County, so she has a lot of family here. So it was exciting to be back and feel like being at home already. So again, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come here and speak to you guys. And if it's any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them today.
Patsy?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation and welcome
Thank
to
you.
the community. I know it's a little late, it's August, but they both start with A's, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I think basically I have 4 questions.
Yes.
First question is exactly what is the criteria for any community to be chosen for the work to housing to work program that you talked about?
The Moving to Work program?
Yes.
Yeah, so currently HUD and Congress got together and decided, again, as I mentioned, that traditional way of doing business doesn't work. It costs too much and it's ineffective. And so they allowed housing authorities to submit applications. And so one of the reasons I feel our applications was selected is the proximity of the University of Illinois right here with us. It's a partner in that program, and they're doing a research. So part of that Move to Work agency, HUD requires us to have a research component. They want to see the difference of non-Move to Work organizations and Move to Work organizations. So we have another housing authority within the state of Illinois that we work with to see how are their clients progressing and moving towards self-sufficiency versus our clients. So just the sheer fact of one applying, having the resources locally and the opportunity to move forward with that, HUD allows housing authorities. It's a privilege to be a move to work organization. As I mentioned, it's only 39 out of the 4,000 plus housing authorities. HUD and Congress recently decided to increase the amount to 100. However, they haven't released any guidelines toward that as of yet. And that's been over a year and a half that information has been out that they're increasing the number of housing authorities for this program.
Okay, second, this is a movement to work, so how are you integrating with workforce development?
Well, we're working closely with workforce development. We're at the table with our RPC, with WorkNet. So we've been working with all the community partners and to ensure that our clients get the right information toward moving to that level of self-sufficiency. Also, we investigating other programs. For example, we looked at Youth Build Lake County as a grant opportunity to work, so we can not just focus on the 18 to 54, that we can focus on some of those second chance opportunities with individuals that may have dropped out of high school, may have not finished high school for whatever reason, may have been arrested, that still want to work toward becoming self-sufficient and improve their life. Actually, we just was discussing it, me and the staff. One of our grant writers had made an error on our grant, and she offered to write the grant for us for free. So at this point, I'm reaching out, looking for partners, and so that we can move forward with that, because it's a win-win for us. We don't lose any money by applying for it.
Okay, next is the program where they can move anywhere with their
Tenant-based vouchers?
right, tenant-based vouchers,
Yes.
TBV. What's built in the checks and balances? So I get the TBV here, but I find a job in Hawaii. How do you know what I'm doing?
Well, if they port out of our jurisdiction, then they're no longer a MTW voucher. So that housing authority, so the portability, it's called portability. And so housing authorities throughout the nation has a jurisdiction, right? Our jurisdiction is Champaign County. So person A decide, you know what, I want to move to Hawaii. They go to Hawaii, we send the paperwork to Hawaii, and Hawaii absorbs them. So they take that person in, and then we get our voucher back in a sense. We really don't have a paper voucher as funding, so HUD gives us an amount of money in order to serve this amount of families. So I know it's a little confusing, but an individual can move anywhere where it's a housing authority, and that housing authority in most cases absorb that person, meaning that they'll give them one of their vouchers and we'll get our voucher back. But if a client move out of a move to work jurisdiction to a non-move to work agency, they automatically out of the move to work program.
Okay. Many people have expressed concerns that Skelton Place was sold.
Yes.
Because too many of the housing authority properties are really not conveniently located in relationship to our bus service.
Yes.
And so what's the explanation for why it was there was a choice to sell Skelton Place?
Well, Skelton Place, the decision to move forward with Skelton Place was something that occurred before I was in place. However, in doing the research and working toward moving with the Haven, which is the property that we are developing next to the mall in order to replace the units of Skelton Place. Skelton Place was one of our oldest developments. It wasn't efficient for the use of affordable housing, and with the opportunity to gain the income of selling it, you know, I think we sold it to one of the student housing individuals who's going to create more student housing in that area. And moving to the moving closer to the mall is plenty of bus services, you know, in that area. And also, in terms of bus services, it's bus services in the area, along with the individuals don't have to catch the bus to go to the store and different places like that, because they're right next to the store. They're right next to the stores that's in that mall district area. And so, again, as I said before, I wasn't here in that decision-making process, but I do understand that it was something that we could have spent a whole lot of money and put it into Skelton and not really got a really good investment back, or we could take the money that from selling it and develop new, affordable, accessible units for individuals that have the needs currently here in the county, along with being close to the stores that they can shop at also.
Okay, well, just for the record, I do have concerns about what Housing Authority is doing and where housing is being placed. And I do understand, I know the building you got for your administrative offices, but there's only one bus that goes out there. And I make the same comment about Salvation Army. They're way out there, and that's very difficult for people to get to that. So I hope as you continue in your development, you'll keep that in mind for the people in the community. And my last comment is, you wouldn't know this historically, but the students in urban planning were very involved with what developed in Bristol Place.
Okay. Yes. Well, Bristol Place, one thing I saw that it was a long time plan that had taken place in order to move to fruition, and we're looking to have the groundbreaking of Bristol Place in early September to move forward with that property. And just to follow up about the bus situation, before the Housing Authority hadn't been, but now we're at the table talking. One of the meetings that they had about transportation, I was there, and they had a survey that they were working on saying that where should transportation be? And one of the comments I had was that, when we're developing housing, we need to sit with you guys first so we can ensure that we have the right transportation for individuals. But having a moving to work organization with the flexibility and utilizing cost-saving measures, only 10% of our clients are really required to come into the office, a given year, because a lot of our recertifications are done by mail. We don't require them, especially individuals that's disabled and senior, we don't require them to come to the office all the time. But those that may that may not be compliant on our MTW program, they need to come in to utilize the computer labs and the resources in order to become compliant. Yes.
Welcome to the community, David Northern.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you here because it has been a long time that we haven't seen anybody from housing, and we have been hearing a lot of buzz happening in housing. I have several questions, that I'm going to keep them brief so that given an opportunity for others to respond to. One is, what is housing doing regarding the mixed use displacements of individuals in Skelton Place, which was mixed use, but where are they now? Or where are they going to go to while you're having all these new developments occurring? And how do they fall on the waiting list if they had a place that was public housing and now they're being forced to move out? Are they given vouchers to get out of town?
Yes, so every tenant in Skelton Place had two choices: to receive a tenant protection voucher to move anywhere they wanted to, whether they want to move to Chicago or stay in Champaign County, or move to one of our vacant units or one of our mixed finance partnership buildings. So every individual had an opportunity to receive housing in some way, and they're first on if they want to come back to the new development, they're first on that list if they choose to come back.
Second question I have is, there's a lot of youth or young people homeless?
Yes.
Because as they move through the system, the incarceration system, they come out and they're not allowed to live in public housing, so they become homeless. So we have this move to work vouchers or programs which would indicate that these individuals, getting them back to mainstream jobs and getting them placed in society and within their communities where their parishes are. There are no churches out at the mall area, and a lot of them, they'll have to take a bus now to church in order to do that. So my question is, I know that there's a specific law here in Champaign and Urbana that prohibits ex-felons to come back to public housing. Could we alleviate that in some kind of way?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one initiative that I've always been a part of. And just to talk just briefly, in coming to Champaign County, I was an elected school board member in Lake County, and I was on a Sheriff's Merit Commission, and I was one of the founding individuals for Youth Build Lake County. So I'm totally engaged with young people. One of the things I found in coming to the Housing Authority here was that we focused primarily on 18 and up, and we didn't worry about some of the younger people. And so that 16 to 24-year age group is some of that age group that you're talking about. That's one of the reasons that I'm interested in a youth build program here in Champaign County, whether the Housing Authority run it or somebody else run it. I think it's something that needs to be here because that's when we work with those individuals in that population to help move them forward towards self-sufficiency. Secondly, we've been at the table with the Reentry Council working on policies and directions to allow individuals to move toward coming back. You know, a lot of times it's been a number of barriers that don't allow individuals to reintegrate back into our community, and I totally believe if we don't allow those individuals to have jobs and have housing, they will recommit. So they'll be breaking in one of our homes one day if we don't work toward giving them that opportunity. So the Housing Authority's mission and dedication is moving toward that now. We have meetings coming up in the next few months, and we've talked about it constantly. It's been choices that the Housing Authority made in the past that caused that. So housing is not a requirement by HUD. HUD's requirement is that only individuals that's lifetime sex offenders and individuals that's prosecuted for methamphetamine distribution or making it in public housing are lifetime bans. Anybody else, you can work with them to bring them back to the households or to families. The biggest issue we have is that we have a waiting list with close to 2,000 people on it. And so a person getting out of prison or jail today have to get on a waiting list in order to receive housing because it may be individuals on there already. It's a limited amount of resources. And I know a lot of times people look at the Housing Authority because the word housing is in it and think that we handle every housing issue in the community. But that's not the case. We want to be at the table with every issue because we're considered to be one of the experts. But the county receives CDGB money. It's a number of other, housers in the community. It's a number of not-for-profits. I met with, I can't remember the name of the organization, but they're doing small homes in Urbana to help with that population, the homeless population. So it's a number of resources that we have, and we just have to continue to partner and work forward and utilize the resources appropriately to move to that direction. But I can guarantee you that within the next year, before the next year, you'll see policy change at the Housing Authority related to the reentry program.
And then the last one, is there any opportunity to reintegrate them within the community and not create these housing projects in the outskirts of Champaign-Urbana, where most of the activity is within town, programs, the YMCA and all that is within town, than to move them out somewhere where they could take a bus, but it's a little bit more inconvenient to take a bus to do all the many things that one does on a daily basis, where they could take a bicycle and walk, to go ahead and displace them in different municipalities outside of the hub of Champaign-Urbana.
Well, one thing's for certain, as I explained earlier, we are moving to work agency, and not every tenant that we have need all the services that may not be there, but also we're the Housing Authority of Champaign County. So we have to work with Muhammad and Rantoul and other places also that may need affordable housing. It may not be 90 units, it may be 10 units. And so the current mission of HUD also is to diversify the housing or affordable units. There's no more public housing, but for example, if we build all affordable housing in one area, then we have the green effect, where everybody in the same situation, in the same place, dealing with the same issues, having a diverse housing and having diversity of housing throughout the community and the county. And just for example, I didn't know how to cut grass until I saw my neighbor cutting grass, or my dad taught me. So an individual that lived in an apartment their whole life may move to a community with a tenant-based voucher that is a home where you got to take care of your yard. And so individuals learn from other communities and other neighbors, and that's one of the reasons that the mindset is build housing in different locations. And some areas don't allow us to build housing because of zoning requirements.
Well, thank you for that answer.
Thank you, sir, for the questions.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi,
I didn't know I was going to be on a hot seat today.
I
Thanks
have
a lot,
few
Chairman.
follow-up questions. You mentioned doing research with U of I
Yes.
on the moving to work. I know research takes time, but I was wondering if you had any preliminary findings. Like,
Oh, yes.
Are you seeing a difference?
We're seeing an amazing difference between individuals on our Move to Work program versus the Housing Authority, that's our sample Housing Authority that's not moving to work. And it's a report that the university just provided to our board. It's on our YouTube channel. It's also on our website, and what I will do is if somebody want me to email the links to them and they can spread it out throughout the board members, I'll be happy to do so. Yes, and I make sure I email them to make sure we get that email out, a copy of the report.
Get a larger copy of this PowerPoint. I can't read it at all.
All right, so I'll send a PowerPoint along with the research findings from the University of Illinois. Just recently, just because of that partnership, we're furthering that partnership with U of I and the Research Center to have more financial counseling and understanding to some of our clients. We had a grant partnership with them we're signing up for and receiving some money from the University Extension to help with our clients with budgeting and other factors to help move them towards self-sufficiency.
Cool. So do you think this is HUD possibly moving toward work requirements for vouchers, or?
Well, I believe for certain is that it's certain individuals that may not be able to overcome certain obstacles, right? But if we change the policies and the mindset toward individuals overcoming those obstacles and providing the resources and the tools to have them overcome those obstacles, we're in a better place. We can't afford to continue, HUD can't afford to continue dumping money in the housing authority that's the same old way. So we have to come up with some type of unique ways. Now, having a 24-hour a week work requirement, that's a policy that was in place before I was here, and that's something that we look at annually to see what works and what doesn't work. I think it's been beneficial because it's making sure that individuals are working, which lessens the dependency on the tax dollars. And for example, I mentioned earlier, we have protections for persons that's disabled and individuals that's elderly. And the Housing Authority is moving toward focusing on a whole family, focusing on young people with programs and activities. We're partnering with the schools. We want to see, I know the data shows me right now that our families are doing better than Housing Authority B. I don't know if our kids are doing better. And that's something that we need to know also. If it's something that we can do for our youth that's in our programs or partnerships to make sure that if the head of households are improving, they're improving in order for us to change this generational curse that we have in some cases of continued poverty or low income.
So what happens if you become non-compliant? And you mentioned that you try to get them to come to you to work on it, but what happens in that case? So
in the case of an individual that's non-compliant, they come to our local self-sufficiency program. We have caseworkers that work with them in order to help them become compliant and figure out what reasons they have for not being compliant. That group of individuals and caseworkers have many resources in order to work with them. An individual have up to 90 days to try to become compliant, and we also offer extensions and waivers. We're a housing authority, and from my background and my extensive experience in housing, I worked in Gary, Indiana, East Chicago, Indiana, Philadelphia, and Lake County, in different areas. I know for certain that it's more cost efficient for us to keep people in housing versus terminating them midstream, causing them to be homeless. So our organization is working to make sure people become compliant and stay compliant.
If they're unable to become compliant, do they and get kicked out or something? Is there a lockout period?
If they refuse to become compliant and it's because of their own doing, if they apply for 20 jobs and they can demonstrate they applied for 20 jobs and they didn't get the job, versus them going to work and saying, I don't want to work, I'm going home, it's a difference. So, and that's why we have the caseworkers, and we continually work with the families that's not compliant and evaluate the situation so we can make educated decisions. But at the end of the day, that's just like anything else. If you want to rob the bank, you're going to go to jail. So if you refuse to follow the guidelines of the program, we may have to terminate a family, which is unfortunate.
Okay, thank you.
Stephanie, thank you.
I have two questions.
Yes.
The first is, I'm really excited that you mentioned youth build.
Yes.
And I believe McLean County also has a youth build, so
Yes.
that might be another model to look at. There's been a lot of conversation about bringing that here, and in particular, I know the building trades are really interested in that, and so are Habitat for Humanity. Yes. And I personally would be super glad to help out in any way that I can. But I think that's a really good direction to go. And I think what's been sort of lacking is a lead agency, and if the Housing Authority can take that on, I think that's a great opportunity. So that's really awesome that you
I've
mentioned that.
I've talked to Habitat about it. I've talked to the trades about it
Great.
also. I have a conference call with Youth Build Lake County's CEO
Right.
that I'm familiar with. I was on a board until I came here. I resigned. So we want to be the lead agency.
Great, great. Anything I could do to help. That my background back in the day was grants, so I'm really excited about this. The question I have is on the move to work thing. How are you tracking, or is it part of the research model and part of the process? I like the idea of moving people to work, but ensuring that work allows them to have a living wage, right? Because the thing that drives the living wage sort of formula is housing security, right? That you're not paying more than a third of your wage for housing is what, and a living wage for, a single parent and a family of two is $28 an hour for our county, a little bit more than 20, and that's a significant, that's not just having a job, that's having a decent job. And so how are you putting that in? Because we don't want people to go through the 8-year program, have work, but then just end up being have one medical emergency and then be house insecure all over and then end up back, 2001 on the list. So how are you putting that, like, not just work, but decent work that allows them to actually move off of housing into the formula that you're working on?
One of the, along with the individuals that's non-compliant, we utilize a number of our resources in the community to ensure that our individuals that are compliant are moving further up that spectrum, getting better education, seeking higher job opportunities. And so our goal is not just to let somebody walk through 8 years of making $12 an hour and then end up homeless at the end of 8 years. So we work with the whole family. And as I said before, I wanted to bring in the component of the whole family because those young people, as they age and go through the school systems, we want them to improve. A lot of the issues, some of the major issues that you see with schools in terms of performance is individuals with low income, second language learners, and individuals with disabilities. And so in most cases, those achievement gaps, we want to help create a change and change that whole family. And so in some situations, we may not be able to guarantee that a family's wage will increase, but if the family's willing to work hard on our program and participate and utilize the resources that's right here in the community, more than not, they will have a living wage.
One more follow-up question. Is there any plan to sort of, like, after the 8 years, follow up with families to figure out, you know what I mean, did it work?
Yes.
Or are they going to, that sort of back-end part of the research?
Well, yeah, the research is extensive, and it's expensive, but it's worth it, right? Like I said, there's 39 individuals, housing authorities throughout the nation, and HUD's looking to increase it more. And actually, HUD's coming on site in September for a site visit. Every year, the housing authorities that's moving to work, we get together and we present our findings of our research to move to work, colleagues, so that we can, utilize best practices. And once an individual graduate out of our program, we have a number of scholarship opportunities, down payment type assistant programs that we partner with. It was great if when I send you the video link on Move to Work, you'll see a young lady on there that graduated and bought a home from Habitat. She was an amazing young lady that I had an opportunity to meet with. And she's the cream of the crop. Everybody's not like her. However, we do track further and to see. In the partnership we have with the other housing authorities, we give initiatives for people in order to give us the true and correct information, gift cards and things like that. So it's real research. Just like if you go do a test at Abbott, they give you a little something to ensure you do the test correctly. And so we've been working that way. Most recently, the Champiagn Housing Authority was given an increase in another 10 years to operate as an MTW agency by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which means that we're complying correctly and we're moving toward our goals that we set. Thank you.
Is that all the questions? No. Okay, Mr. Story.
Thank you, Jim. I was very glad to hear that you're going to work with inmates going through reentry or folks released and I think that's terrific. I applaud that. And following on something that was related to what Tracy brought up, I wonder about people who suffer mental illness or intellectual disabilities. Some of them might not be able to find work that they can do, or employers. Is there hope or a provision for those sorts of folks, and how can you help them?
Well, one thing is for certain, sir, that the Housing Authority of Champaign County want to focus on what we do best. And another thing that we're really improving is our ability to work with our community partners that may have some of those resources to help individuals that have those type of disabilities. As I mentioned earlier, we have two exemptions from the move to work requirements. That's individuals that's 54 and up and individuals with disabilities. So those individuals are not required to work the 25 hours per week.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Just two quick questions on
Yes.
the Move to Work as a demonstration program. How long is that planned to last, do you know?
2028, currently we have our charter through the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
To 2028?
Yes.
Okay, 10 years, okay. The other question is waivers. Who decides the waivers?
Well, we have guidelines around a waiver, so it depends on the situation of each individual, because each individual may have a different situation. They work with the caseworker, and then the caseworker submits it for a waiver or not.
Does it submit to you, or just ultimately who signs off on them?
Well, the LSS department, which is the local self-sufficiency department, they have a supervisor, so their supervisor signs off on it. If it becomes a major issue, then I step in. I try not to get in the weeds as much, but it's important to, get off the balcony and get on the dance floor at times. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Petrie.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. I'd like to build on what Mr. Rosales brought to your attention, and this item and the next one for your tickler file. You've done a great deal since you've arrived, and so I'm sure your desk is full of plans and ideas. But he mentioned about the felony situation, and I hope that you are building bridges with the Human Relations Commission in Champaign. So that in your tickler file. You've mentioned the importance of economically integrated housing, and it would be very interesting to down the line have conversations with both of the major municipalities for ordinances to put us in that realm, because that is lacking here. We're still siloing far too much, and I think some of the people around the table have indicated that to you. And then research does not necessarily have to be delayed and expensive. You may or may not have met Andrew Greeley in the urban planning department.
He's amazing. I met him the first week I was here.
Okay, well
and so
then,
if I was throwing a dart, I hit a bullseye when I met him.
You have no excuses for not getting the longitudinal data now, getting that done.
Is that all the questions? Thank you. Apparently, they liked having you here and asked a lot of questions, Mr. Hunter. I appreciated your presentation, and I appreciate your engagement and the hard work and your staff's work. And I really do like the fact that you're engaging throughout the community and your transparency. If you have anything else you'd like to say before you leave?
I just want to say I'm happy to be here at the Champaign County Housing Authority. I'm looking forward to what the future brings and the partnerships that we have here at the Housing Authority. I'm thankful to come into an agency that's in really good shape. So some low-hanging fruit here and there that we really have to work toward, but I have an amazing team to work with. And again, thank you for allowing me to come to the board meeting and present, and I'll be happy to come more often. It seemed like it was a need from some of the commissioners in terms of questions. So anytime it's a need, please reach out. We'll make sure that all the commissioners are on our contacts, so you'll have our information constantly as we put information out in the community. And feel free to come in and take a site visit or something one day. I'll welcome that. Thank you.
Okay, the only other thing on the agenda is my report, and the only thing I have to say about that is we've had some discussions about the Racial Justice Task Force tonight, and Mr. Patterson and Mr. Storr and I have talked a little bit about that, and we'll be discussing that more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Let's move on to policy, personnel, and appointments. Mr. Rosales.
Here we are. Policy, personnel, and appointments. A, Pius.
Well, number one is just a couple resignations for information only. Number two, I moved the nomination of Gary Maxwell and David Nickham to 2 unexpired terms ending 5/31/2020.
Moved by Pius, second by Rector. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any nays? None? Seeing none? Okay. Number three.
For the Urbana Champaign Central District, for 1 expired term ending 5/31/2021, nominate Mr. Jerry Likey.
Okay, all in favor?
Need a second.
Oh, all, second? Second by, what was that? Questions? And seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay. What was that? All those opposed? Patsy? You oppose? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Number 4, Tolono Fire Protection District.
That's just a resignation.
Okay. Number 5, Tolono Fire Protection District, A, unexpired term ending 4/30/2020.
I nominate Mr. Dale Grimm for this position.
Okay, he moves, I second it. All those in
No,
favor?
you cannot second.
What?
You cannot second.
Okay. Thank you, Rector. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Great. B, additional trustees, 2-year term ending 4/30/2021 and 3-term ending 4/30/2022, determined by lot of Tolono Fire Department meeting.
I nominate Mr. David Ellers and Ms. Vicky Foley for these 2 positions.
Okay, could I get a second? Storr, all those in favor? Aye, opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Mount Olive Cemetery Association, resignation, for information only. Number 7, Mount Olive Cemetery Association, 1 expired term ending 6/30/2020.
I nominate Mr. David McCormick.
Okay, moved by Pius, second by Clifford. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed? And seeing none, any questions? Great. Number 8, Housing Authority of Champaign County, 1 position for the term of 8/1/2018 to 7/31/2023. Applicant?
I nominate Mr. Grant Henry.
Okay, second by Kyle. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none? Great. Drainage District Commissioners, 1 term each from 9/1/2018 to 8/31/2021. How do you propose to do this?
Okay, I'll do all of them at once. I nominate for Beaver Lake, Lyle Brock. For Blackford Slough, Jack Murray. For Conrad and Fisher, Delmar Banner. For Fountainhead, Gerald Reefsteck. For Harwood and Kerr, Todd Hesterberg. For Kankakee, Edward Feeney. For Long Branch Mutual, Rick Wolken. South Fork, Glenn Laufenhagen. For Nelson Moore Fairfield, Mark Berkey. Number 10, Town of Ogden, Tim Halls. Number 2, Town of Scott, Paul Burbaum. Ocow, Gerald Henry. Owl Creek, Leonard Stocks. Basodum Slough Special, Jeffrey Little. Basodum Consolidated, Douglas Reinhardt. Prairie Creek, Keith Harms. Ralph, Kevin Volkin. Salt Fork, Reggie Peters. Sangman and Drummer, Stephen Hawthorne. Silver Creek, Mervyn Olson. St. Joseph number 3, Lloyd Esri. Sumner number 1, William Schumott. St. Joseph number 6, Barry Fisher. 2 Mile Slough, Doug Steerwald. Union, Stanton, and Ogden Townships, Lynn Hulls. St. Joseph number 4, Dale Busboom. Triple Fork, David Wolkin. Union number 1, Philo and Crittenden, Justin Decker. Union number 2, St. Joseph and Ogden, Dan Mills. Union number 3, South Homer and Sydney, Greg Allen. Upper Umbra River Basin, Donald Maxwell. Union number 1, Philo and Urbana, Ed Decker. West Branch, Richard Peebler, Risk, Francis Laufenhagen.
Could I get a second on that? Second by Clifford. All those in favor? All those opposed? See none. Any questions? Store.
Point of order. There's no questions to be had on this. You've already voted on it.
Okay, thank you. Store, sorry about that.
I just wanted to kind of point out that a particular application that I thought was commendable, and if Mr. Goss will allow.
Do you want us to suspend the county board rules?
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you. Number 10, St. Joe, number 3, Drainage District, 1 an expired term ending 8/31/2019.
I nominate Brian Buss.
Okay, second by Ezra. Ezra, any questions? Any comments?
Mr. Rosales?
Yes.
Just to point out that he does not own any farmland in the district, but he does farmland there. Also, his wife owns farmland, so we'll point out except in the resolution.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, County Clerk, June and July 2018 report. I asked for those reports to be placed on file. Semi-annual reports as well, which is item number 2. Number 3, memorandum regarding polling places. This requires a vote. These changes have occurred because of structural rehab in 2 of the buildings on campus, so there's going to be some switching around of some precincts. So I believe this ISR was one of those, and the Alina Union was the second because of remodeling. So, any questions? Store?
Yes, sir.
Could we get a motion on the floor, please?
Okay, I moved that we,
You have to ask somebody to do it.
what was that? Okay,
Good.
moved by
Stephanie.
Stephanie? Second by Store?
Which one are you moving, to clarify? Okay.
Okay, questions? Stephanie?
Mr. Storr was first, I think.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Holden, I noticed that Cunningham 3 was moved to Illini Union.
That's the second resolution.
Oh, well,
We're on A, I'm sorry about that, number 3, A. Stephanie?
I believe that all of these are in our district. So what is? No, it's great. All right, I'm just going to use this. I believe that all of these are in our district. So can you just walk us through how you're communicating this? Like, what's the plan to make sure that folks aren't confused and know where they're going? And is there any way that the two of us could help with that?
So our normal procedures for alerting voters to changes in polling place involves mailing a new card, a voter information card. We will also mail a letter explaining the reason for the change and alerting them to the possibility of voting by mail or voting early if the change creates an inconvenience for them. We will also do press release and earned media and social media and all of those various forms of communication. And of course, as county board members, they're your constituents and you are welcome to communicate with them about this in any way that you'd like.
Are you working with, since, the vast majority of these folks a lot of them are students, right? Are you working with like student services at all? Like, I know there's a lot of like educational type of things that go on in the dorms and also for folks that live in apartments. Are you working with them at all? I know that they do stuff around voting and things like
So
that?
we communicated these changes a while ago, or these proposed changes a while ago to the leadership of Illinois student government. And the university is required by law to send out an email prior to every general election and general primary outlining voter registration and voting procedures for its students. In that email will be information about how to find where to go vote.
Thank you.
Could you tell me where Champaign number 3 and Champaign number 7 were or are before this?
So on the first page of the memo, there's a table that shows the progression of polling place changes throughout the years. Champaign 3 has been combined for a while with Champaign 2, or City of Champaign 2 at Cohen-Hillel. We are sort of shifting around 4 precincts into 2 polling places over there because we lost Skelton Place, as you heard from the Housing Authority. And in that precinct, honestly, there's just not another good public building that's available to us. And our numbers of election day voters in the precincts that we're talking about across both resolutions tonight, our numbers of election day voters are our proportions of election day voters are among the lowest for any of our precincts in the county, because the voters in these precincts take advantage of voting by mail and early voting in such heavy proportion compared to the rest of the precincts in Champaign County.
So just to make sure I totally understand this, you're moving 7 to Hillel, and is it just a matter of there'd just be too much there?
Look at the map on page 2, and the geography of it will make sense to you, I think.
Yeah, the geography, but is it also a matter of
It's not a matter of capacity.
It's just geography? Okay.
It's for the folks on campus who move about during the day, the
Okay.
predominant movement is towards the quad.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And so it did not make sense for us to send City of Champaign 7 northeast into City of Champaign 2.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
So we're trying to
me.
accommodate the typical traffic patterns,
Right.
because as you said, most of the voters in these precincts, especially with Skelton Place no longer being a public housing facility, the vast majority of them are students, either graduate students or undergraduates.
Got you. I just didn't know if it was a matter of you didn't want to triple up or, okay.
The numbers of election day voters in these precincts has dropped so low that capacity is not really an issue for us, even for presidential elections.
All those opposed? Great, thank you. Item B, resolution to establish place of election for Cunningham 3. Any questions? Store? Oh, I move to... Okay. Stephanie moves it, second by Anderson. Okay, any questions? Store?
Thank you. It happens that I was an observer at the general election in 2016 at the Illini Union, and the lines there are long. It include, up to 76 people in line by my count. And I don't agree that moving an additional polling place to Illini Union is a good idea. The Levis Center is nearby, and I urge you to look into seeing if they could accommodate a polling place at the Levis Center.
So the Illini Union, so first of all, this is a temporary relocation of this particular precinct, which is why I have it in a separate resolution. Our intention is to move this polling place back to ISR when the renovations are completed, and right now the renovations are scheduled to be completed before the presidential general election in 2020. So the lines that Mr. Storr is talking about were for the presidential general election in 2016, and we expect that this will be separated again before the presidential election in 2020. And of course, I'm no longer going to be the county clerk at that point in time, so if the next county clerk decides to bring you a change for this for 2019 or beyond, they are welcome to do that, or you are welcome to do that. So I'm not worried about lines at the Illini Union for this November's election, because historically midterm voter turnout is significantly lower across the county, but on campus as well, for governor's midterm elections versus presidential elections. I'd also like to point out that the Illini Union is a special voting location for us on Election Day, as are the rest of our early voting locations, in that it's a universal voting location, and any voter in the county can go vote at the Illini Union. the net effect of that is even if we have a separate polling place for these folks at the Levis Center, they're still going to go to the Illini Union to vote because they can. And because they get so much voter education drummed into them about go to the Illini Union to vote, go to the Illini Union to vote, which highlights my argument of why fewer, larger, centrally located polling places is better service for voters. That these voters are going to go to the union rather than to a place that we set up for 2 or 3 elections that they've never heard of. So,
Chris?
What preparations do you have to expand the number of voting places at the Illini Union? Last large election that we had, it was lines out the door.
for the presidential election in 2016, we were in the basement in the Federal Room. We had, if memory serves, 15 election judges working there, more than any other voting location in the county, and they were working a grand total of 7 check-in stations. And we had as many election judges as the physical space of the room would accommodate. The only space that we would have had in the Illini Union that would have been larger would have been one of the ballrooms, and those rooms, to be honest with you, aren't available to us. For this election, we have 2 adjoining rooms on the 4th floor. We intend to have many multiple election judge stations set up with a multitude of booths in the other rooms so that we can route traffic in one door to the judges, to the booths in the next room, and then out the door by the tabulator in the other room. We are attempting to manage traffic and cram as many election judges and booths into the space that's available to us in the Illini Union as we possibly can. The law requires us to have a voting location in the Illini Union, so we're going to be there anyway. And again, the voters are going to gravitate there because it's the early voting location for campus.
Chris?
I still think that having long lines discourages voting, and
I do too.
And I think that unless we can have much larger, at least twice as many, possibly 3 times as many voting booths and stations, I don't think that putting an additional polling place in the Illini Union serves the public or serves the precinct. And I think that there's an alternative at the Levis Center, and education could be done to, as you said, send out cards. Your polling place is at this particular place. Gives them the option of voting at their regular precinct versus standing in line at the union.
We will staff the union for this election with as many election judges and booths as we can physically fit into the space, and having a separate voting location in the Levis Center isn't going to do anything to discourage these voters from going to the union. They are going to go to the union, regardless of whether we have that separate polling place or not.
I do not intend to support this.
Is the basement not available? Because as I was a watcher in I have to forget, 2014, when it was in those upstairs rooms, and I've also done a lot of events in those upstairs rooms, and they're very difficult to navigate. It was like, I felt like you had to walk like this. And that was for, that was for the same kind of presidential year election. So is just the basement not available?
The basement's not available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any way that, like, in the future, that we could just, like, book out the basement now for,
The
like, forever?
basement's no longer available. It's been converted to storage for the vendors that operate in the basement. The basement's no longer available, period, not just no longer available to us.
Thank you.
We've asked for the Pine Lounge for the presidential. But again, that's an election where I'm not going to be around, and so the next county clerk can make that decision. Again, the law requires us to be in the Illini Union.
Yeah.
I'd love to have one of their giant ballrooms for 2 straight weeks, but they also use those rooms for things other than
I know.
elections, and we don't pay for the privilege of being there,
I
unlike
know.
everybody else who's in the building. So we ask very nicely, and we take what we can get.
Yes. I think we could also make the case that it's a public building paid for by taxpayers' money, and giving us 2 rooms where you have to walk in single file sideways and try not to bump people this is not on you. This is, I'd be very glad to continue that conversation with you.
I'm much more comfortable with the setup for November in terms of the space that we will have and our ability to expand the capacity that we have there. I'm comfortable that we will have enough to keep the lines at a minimum.
You mean in comparison to 2014?
Yeah, in comparison.
It'll be configured differently?
It'll be configured differently. We've worked with them to remove all of the furniture from the room, so the only thing that will be present will be us.
Okay.
And the procedures that we have in place now move Election Day registration voters, which is honestly what causes the lines,
Okay.
through much more quickly than we had in 2014. 2014 was the first election where we had Election Day registration. We still have filled out paper forms.
Yeah.
We all learned a lot in 2014.
Are there any further questions? Okay, all those in favor? Oh, one more, Kyle.
First, I want to say thanks for the memo. It's very comprehensive. Sometimes the memos we get aren't as thorough. I wanted to ask about, and I will say that I hate the room you guys are in. No, it's not your fault. I know you didn't design the architecture of the Union to where you can't go up one stairwell to get to the room. You have to go on the
I've asked for flexibility to be in a different building on campus, but the legislature is reluctant to grant us that discretion because of the history here. Yes.
It's a good location, like you said, central location. You mentioned earlier using adjacent rooms. So you're still going to be in the same room that you're in for the 2018 primary?
No, we're going to be on the 4th floor. We're going to have 2 larger rooms that have an adjoining door. So we'll be able to route people in the entrance door of one room where they'll get checked in, where we'll have the handicap accessible voting machine. They'll go through the connecting door into another room where there are booths and the tabulators, and then exit that door.
Okay. So you said the federal room is, the basement's just not an option anymore?
It's not even a federal room anymore. It's like a storeroom. It's, yeah, nobody has access to it. It's literally storage space for the vendors that operate in the basement, or that's what I've been told. I don't have a key.
And you said that you were going to request the Pine Lounge for 2020.
I have.
Is there a reason that you didn't request it for this election?
I did.
You did? Okay. Good, thanks.
Yep.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, I believe the motion passes. Item C, County Administrator, Administrative Services Monthly Report for June and July 2018. I ask to be placed those on file. Any questions for Deb at this time? Okay, seeing none, other business. New county board rules is for Pius.
Yeah, it's in the yellow package, first item. You see there, this is the results of the transition committee, which was met quite a bit, not recently, but earlier in the year. We'll probably have a couple more meetings yet this fall. And you'll see, look at the table of contents. It contains every chapter done except for 3 of them. Chapters or sections 11, 14, and 15 are not complete. We're going to work on those, and you'll get copies of those later in the year. So let me give you the calendar. Today you're getting the rules. On September 11th, that'll be the September Cal meeting. We'll have the discussion. There'll be an action item to discuss these rules, again, except for those 3 chapters, those 3 sections. And at the county board meeting in September, we'll vote on them. And then in November 13th, at the November Cal, this will be after the election, we'll hand out and probably have discussion on the 3 options for the committee structure. The 3 options would be all standing committees, 2 cows, or a hybrid like we have now. Then, again, there'll be no vote at that meeting. But then on December 3rd, and the reason we're having the handout then is that the newly elected members could come to the meeting and at least watch the discussion. They can always ask questions to the staff or county board member, or to me, or any county board members after that meeting. And on December 3rd, then is the county board reorganizational meeting. We'll vote on the committee structure there. You decide which structure that the new county board wants. And then on the county board meeting in December, there'll be no COW, there'll be no committees, because no committees are established. And generally, that's not a problem during December. But at the county board meeting in December, the committee assignments will be made by the county board chair at that time. All right, so that's the plan. Hopefully we'll be able to get that done. All right.
Well, thank you very much for that, Pius. D, new county board rules. Number 2, appointment of Jim McGuire.
I'd like to nominate Jim McGuire as our new Deputy Chair of Justice and Social Services Committee to replace Robert King.
All those,
Need a second.
all those moved by Pius, second by Esri. All those in favor? All those opposed? And I'm not going to ask any questions. Missed the opportunity. Okay, number 2, appointment of Kyle Patterson.
Appointing Kyle Patterson, Assistant Deputy Chair of Justice and Social Services Committee of the Whole.
Okay, moved by Stephanie, second by Anderson. What was that? Okay, moved by Pius, Stephanie seconded. Any questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 3, we already did that one. Chair's report, there is none. County Board appointments expiring September 30th, 2018, there are none. And then items designated to be placed on the consent agenda, A1 through 10, D2 and 3. A1 through 10. Consent?
Correct. A3 is not on consent.
Okay, can you repeat that then?
A3 is not on consent.
Okay, A1, 2, 4 through 10.
Well, actually, A2, A5, because then A7, 8, and 9, and 10, and B3, no, B3, which,
2 and 3.
just 3A. Yeah. 3B is not. And then D2 and 3 are on consent.
Did you get that? Because I didn't. Okay, consent agenda is A1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then D3. What was that?
B3A.
Oh, B3A and not B, because there was a no on that by Shore. D2 and 3. So it's A, 3A, D2, and 3.
All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Rosales. Next up is
Painful.
Finance, Ms. Furtado. You got a good microphone there? Why don't you swap with Mr. Rosales?
Oh, just giving me the mic. Okay, budget amendment 18-0029, Fund 081 Nursing Home Department 410 Administrative. Increased appropriations of $4,542,946 and increased revenue of $4,611,523. Do I have a motion? I saw Mr. Patterson, and I'll have Ms. Petrie as a second. Discussion. Ms. Petrie.
Yes, I would like Ms. Ogden to come and remind the public about the past history on the 2018 budget, and so they will better understand $4+ million on this amendment.
So during the FY 2018 budget process, the county board approved a 6-month operating budget for the nursing home and then a transition budget for the nursing home. We discussed at that time that there would be necessary budget amendments or board-approved transfers required if the home continued operations beyond July. And at this time, the closing date has been established at least at October 31st. So it is going to be necessary for the county board to provide essential appropriations for the home to continue operations through at least the projected closing date.
Thank you.
Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next, Budget Amendment 18-00042, Fund 089, County Public Health Department, 018 CU Public Health District, increased appropriations $2,917, increased revenue $2,917. Do I have a motion? Mr. Patterson, second. Ms. Court, and any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Budget amendment, that motion passes. Budget amendment 18-00043, Fund 476, Self-Funded Insurance, Department 118, Property Liability Insurance, increased appropriation $7,000, increased revenue $7,000. Do I have a motion? Mr. Goss, second. Mr. Clifford. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That moves. Budget Amendment 18-00044, Fund 671, Court Document Storage, Department 030, Circuit Clerk, increased appropriations $53,900, increased revenue, none from fund balance. Do I have a motion? Ms. Petrie? I'm sorry, I saw Mr. Goss first. Second. Any questions? Ms. Petrie?
Well, I'll show up later next time, so I don't won't be there so long.
Microphone.
I'm sorry, a technical question. Do you have a timeline on the length of time before you'll implement your project? Or have you done it already?
It was actually, it's a state mandate starting July 1st for the
so it's up
Research
and running.
Illinois. Correct. The first
Okay.
thing, the first part that we joined into is called the repository program, where everything that's filed electronically through their Odyssey program is available for attorneys to log in and see all of those filings. The second step of this is where they integrate with the case management systems, where they can see all the filings that we have scanned into our case management system by logging in from their office instead of coming to the courthouse for files. That's where the extensive, the $53,900 comes in because of all the documents we have scanned in. They're anticipating about a 2 to 3 week process for the implementation of that. I'm erring on the side of caution and say it'll at least be 5 weeks, simply because it probably takes some time.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tracy?
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, long time no see. So is this only for attorneys?
Right now, it is. The Supreme Court apparently has on their September agenda the discussion about allowing this for pro se and individual filers. I'm assuming the concern that they have, at least I know what my concern is, going back many years when counties started scanning the documents, labeling some of those documents as sealed or impounded based on financial information or even child victim information, things that we impound now to make sure that if those documents are seen public or available to the public, that general public can't see them, but you're still able to, as a case participant, to see those, which is why the attorneys are now. We don't have to worry about people seeing them who should not have access to them. I don't know how they're going to do that towards the end of this year to allow the general public to do so, but the goal is to do so. I mean, and you can see, as you know from the Odyssey program, you have the ability to mark a filing as confidential or non-confidential. If that filing is not confidential, unless you're a party to the case, you won't be able to see it. However, all of the filings that were scanned before this, are they going to be seen or not? So we have been scanning them as a kind of an under seal for at least the time that Katie's been there. And I think they started roughly 2012, probably a year before that. So we feel certain we've got 6 good years in there. I'm not quite sure after that. So the Supreme Court's going to address that in hopefully their September session, and then we'll find out more towards the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Petrie?
How are these protected against hacking then?
I think it's probably the same of which our normal case management system is protected against it. The Odyssey program that the state's going to have, that I can't really address. I know, I guess maybe I'm naive. I think that they have good protection on that.
Come on, 11-year-old broke into Florida's in 2
Yes.
hours now.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Well,
safe.
11-year-olds nowadays can do quite a bit more than what I could when I was 11. I honestly don't know. I have to assume that when they've set up the structure for the request for proposal, that the Tyler Technologies, who's the parent company of Odyssey, that they won, that they had to meet certain criterias. I do not know what they are. And yeah, I understand that being naive about that is probably not the best, but I probably couldn't tell you if it was good or bad, even if they told me what it was. Yep.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, that passes. Next up, and I would like to point out before we go to the next two, that we do have Director Salamaya here who has stuck it out. So if you have any questions, he is here to answer those about the next two. Budget Amendment 18-00045, Fund 075, Regional Planning Commission, Department 881, Long Range Transportation Plan Web, increased appropriations $180,870, increased revenue $180,870. Do I have a motion? I saw Ms. Court and Ms. Director second. I would just like to say thank you. I know we last time asked you to start putting memos in, and I appreciate that very much. It gave us more information so that, we had more information as we were looking at these. And also, as always, thank you for continuing to bring more money, leveraging all sorts of different funds into the county. Besides my comment, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That moves. Budget Amendment 18-00046, Fund 075, Regional Planning Commission, Department 882, Urbana-Kickapoo Rail Trail, increased appropriations $125,095, increased revenue $125,095. Do I have a motion? Sorry, I saw Ms. Cowart, yeah, she's quick today. I saw Mr. Storr as a second. Any questions? Ms. Petrie.
Do both or either of you want to come up? I have a clarification question. Hi, thanks
Hi,
for...
good evening.
Yeah, thanks for staying so long, both of you. I thought the terminus of the Kickapoo Trail was at 130, not near Weaver Park. Am I missing a part of the trail?
No, it's nearby Main Street. It ends at Main Street on the union of Main Street and University Avenue.
Oh, there. Okay, I got where it is. And this is the idea to run it along the railroad tracks, is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
got it. All right, thanks.
Mr. Weibel.
Rita, is it possible that the trail could split to hit all the targets you have on the in the grant proposal? I mean, like goes to talk about Lincoln Haven, Carr Hospital, downtown Champaign, or is it sort of just going to snake around and try to catch all those points?
The idea is to continue along the railroad tracks and stop with this study, stop at Lincoln Avenue.
Okay.
We'll be working with Carr Hospital, and then they can provide input on which way they want to have some sports or something like that.
I saw Mr. Esri first and then Ms. Petrie.
Will the existing tracks that are still there stay and this be alongside them? Because I know sometimes I believe they still push some cars down I guess, spur, you could say, that's left for temporary storage, I guess, at times.
Yes.
So
At this point in time, what we are thinking is just doing a feasibility study to have the rail with the trails along the track at this time.
Ms. Petrie.
One follow-up question. Long time ago, part of the conversation of connecting Weaver Park, it was to go up to Meadowbrook and then make the connection across the southern part to get over to Champaign and West Champaign. Is that been set aside, or is that still another possibility?
That's still part of the Greenways and Trails plan for Champaign County. There is being proposed a whole loop around Champaign Urbana.
Okay.
But this is just one piece of the whole loop.
But this, just so I understand clearly, this is a piece of what potentially people are talking about as that loop. Is that correct or not?
Is part of that loop.
Okay,
yes.
thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Show of hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Yeah. That's about what I expect, actually. Okay. The next one I have is Budget Amendment 18-00051, Fund 080, General Corporate Department 025, Supervisor of Assessments, increased appropriations, 5,650, and increased revenue, none. This is from the fund balance. Moved by Mr. Anderson, second by Ms. Cohart. And any discussion? Ms. Petrie.
Well, Paula's been here so long, she deserves one question. During caucus, we just kicked around what has caused your need for increase. Is it educational, or is it the many pages in the newspaper? Or
it's the many pages
in the newspaper. Okay.
Yes, this year we had an unusual amount. The state sales study showed that assessments were not at 33 1/3, so the township assessors did a lot of factoring. Yes, I know, everyone knows, yes. So that was the increase, but that's to keep it at 33 1/3.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, that moves. We're going to now skip to C, and that is C, just the auditor's report. We'll put that on file. That's right. Okay. Now D, County Administrator, fiscal year 2018 General Corporate Fund budget projection and budget change reports. And for those of you following along, this is in your yellow packet. So we are switching colors. We're moving to yellow.
This report is for the period ending July 31st. The last report that I gave you was for the end of May, so we did not have a June report, and there have been some changes that I'd like to bring to your attention. So on the revenue side, for non-business licenses and permits, predominantly revenue stamps, we have been showing increased projection for revenue, basically reflective of a strong real estate market. And this will have a corresponding increase in expenditure because we turn around and then disperse a portion of these revenues to the state. Sales tax revenues are continuing to show strong performance because of the strong economy. So personal property replacement tax, 1 cent and quarter-cent sales tax, and use tax. The Illinois Department of Revenue had indicated that some of the increase that we're seeing in personal property replacement taxes for 2018 are based on federal tax law changes. So that's just an update that I had not provided to you yet. In regards to fees and fines, there are some significant changes here. As I mentioned, we did not have a June report, and so since the last report in May, there have been a significant improvement in the anticipated projections for these particular revenues. I am uncertain whether this will hold until the end of the fiscal year. Predominantly, recording fees and circuit clerk fees have increased, although there are some other fee lines that have reflected improvement over the last 2 months. Recording fees, again, I think is a reflection of a strong real estate market. In regards to the increase in circuit clerk fees and conversations with the circuit clerk's office, in 2018, the state began requiring electronic filing for civil cases, and the clerk's office indicated that it has seen a slight uptick in civil cases as well. So hopefully next month I will be able to provide some more information, but we do still anticipate that we will not bring in as much as budgeted, but I do believe that there is a potential for improvement in these lines for fiscal year 2018.
I'm very impressed by the percentage increase of interest earnings. Are you investing better than our treasurer?
Well, these are funds that the treasurer is investing. It's just that when the budgets were prepared, there wasn't an expectation of there to be such a significant increase in interest. And so we're now seeing that as with the preparation of the 2019 budget, we are increasing these lines for anticipated.
Can I follow up to that? It looks as if the projection for 2018 was significantly lower than the 2017 actual, and so the 2018 projected is really, I mean, it is an increase over the 2017 actual, but is not.
Right.
So was there a reason the projection was so low for 2018?
So when we are going through the budget process, we're meeting with departments in July. And, you know, we don't have as accurate of a picture by the time we get to the end of the fiscal year. Again, we're trying to make sure we capture that in with the 19 budget. So moving over to the expenditure page, I had mentioned earlier the increase in expenditure for purchase document stamps, which corresponds to the increase in the revenue stamps that fall under the non-business licenses and permits. So you can see that has gone up since the May report as well. Overall, at this point, we are estimating that we will underspend the 2018 budget by about $550,000. Some of that, of course, is attributed to personnel savings, and if you saw the administrative services report, you would see the current vacancies, and then also we are anticipating that fringe benefits, which is predominantly health insurance, that we will underspend that line. I've mentioned before that there were more waivers in fiscal year 2018 than we had in fiscal year 2017, which is in part the reason for that. On the summary page, the revenue to expenditure difference projection for 2018 is $585,000 with a fund balance projection of $5.14 million. I know Mr. Farney had reported based on his cash flow reports, which are based on averages. I think he had a $5.24 million. So we do anticipate the percentage of the 2018 expenditure budget being 14.2% at this time, which exceeds our minimum fund balance requirement of 12.5%, but does not quite reach our target fund balance of 16.7%. And then in regards to the budget change report, the two budget amendments that were added in July were the donation for EMA for radio equipment and the state's attorney's request for additional funds for the Carl property tax case costs.
Thank you. Any other questions while we have Tammy? Seeing none, Now we're going to move to the very last page of your blue packet, and this is an addendum to the SAK Management Services LLC Services Agreement. Whereas SAK Management Services LLC and Illinois Limited Liability Company, SAK, and the County of Champaign County entered into the service agreement on the 22nd day, June 2017, and whereas SAK and the county agreed to add the following language to paragraph 1 of section 6.1 of the services agreement at the end of the third renewal term on September 30th, 2018. The term of this agreement shall then expire on the date of the closing of the sale of the Champaign County Nursing Home. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Mr. Pius? Either way, sorry, I'll give it to Mr. Rosales. Mr. Anderson's had a bunch. Both of you went at the exact same time. And, well, they were tied, so they were literally, I saw them in both of my peripheral visions at the exact same time. So this is basically to keep the nursing home going, having a management company until our anticipated sale date. Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Patterson.
I just find the language kind of confusing in the last paragraph. At the end of the third renewal term on September 30th, 2018, the term of this agreement shall then expire on the date of the closing.
So currently we're under, it's currently will expire on September 30th under the agreement we currently have. So once that is over, then we're going to extend it to the date that we sell it and not pick a date that we then might have to come in for another vote, right? So this just basically makes the next renewal after September 30th until the date of the sale.
And I would just point out that this is a sentence that gets added to the current contract, Article 6. So it makes more sense in the context of the entire contract because this is an addendum.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. And other business? I don't have anything for a chair's report. So items to be placed on the consent agenda are A, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, B, 3, A and B, and 4th, B, 4 through 25, and then D, 2.
All right, thank you, Ms. Furtado. One other item, other business, is there any other topic? I'll take the topics for the upcoming UCCI sponsored trip to Washington, D.C. I plan to compile what I have already. I'll send it out to all of you. So if you get them to me in the next couple of days, I'd appreciate it. Again, I will send these to the UCCI headquarters in Springfield, and they'll probably will filter it, come up with a final list. Any questions on that?
I ask a clarification question?
Sure, go ahead.
Did she list 9A1 on the consent or not? I'm sorry, I wasn't keeping up.
Which one's that again?
9A1.
Under.
It didn't. Okay, that's what I wanted to double check. Thank you.
Okay. Any other business? Then we are adjourned.